Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm having some Diet Dr. Pepper, and if you hear this, that is my Chex Mix, because I'm having an afternoon bowl of Chex Mix and some Diet Dr. Pepper, and it is excellent. And the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel said that Chex Mix is my kryptonite, and maybe he's right. Okay, the market pulled back a little bit today, and I saw the price. XRP got down to 80 cents, and it reminded me of what I showed you, I think yesterday. Dark Defender had said that the support was 78 cents, which is this line right here. So far we're above the support, which I'm assuming is a good thing. Since he does charts and I don't, all I can do is assume. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. I also wanted to point out this. He tweeted this out. He said, "Do you believe XRP will melt faces? If yes, come join us." Well, I'm going to retweet that because I do think it will melt faces. All right. Monica Long took the stage at NFT LA to talk about the future of Web3 and its potential to empower everyone to retake ownership of their digital identity. She highlighted that a seamless UX experience and a blend of DeFi and CeFi will be the key to achieving full Web3 adoption. Go Ripple, go. I watched this last night. This is fascinating, folks. If you don't remember, I remember covering it back in 2018, I think. The Quadriga CX, which was a Canadian exchange, this guy who is the founder supposedly died, and all of a sudden the story was that he died and nobody had the private keys or the passwords or anything, and his wife couldn't do anything about it and all this. And when I heard that, I knew something was up. You need to go watch this documentary on Netflix. Then you'll know something shady went down. And I don't think they've found him yet, but I don't think he died, personally. Now, the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel has been activated. He's looking cooler than ever, and it's only Troomers that he's talking. Listen to this.
Dear Dave Rubin, we grew up a couple miles from each other, but now I'm coming to you live from the streets of Commeyville, NYC. It's all right, I'm sticking around building this place back better. And when I say better, I mean less commie. Listen, you've been exposing things. You've even been educating your listeners on decentralization and cryptocurrencies. We're asking you to interview John Deaton of Crypto Law US for 5 to 10 minutes. He's the attorney leading the class action lawsuit against the SEC on behalf of 60,000 plus holders of a digital asset called XRP. The SEC sued a United States company, Ripple, stifling innovation in the U.S. while allowing foreign entities to thrive. This is the financial news story of the century, Davey. My wife listens to you every goddamn day. And last year I heard the best quote coming out of your mouth when you were getting trolled. You said, "I don't have a problem with gay people. My husband's gay." We need you, Davey. Somebody get this to Dave. Throw it on Locals. Sign up for Locals. Support Dave so he can support us. Signing out.
I love it. The official cool guy's trying to get the word out. Now, I decided this morning that I would give a standing offer. The first congressman who publicly calls for an investigation of the Ethereum Free Pass conflicts of interest will get the title, the official congressman of the Digital Asset Investor channel. I have not given this title out yet. And I will actively help campaign. I will mention you on this channel and your campaign and whatever you're supposed to trying to get people to your website, your donation website, whatever. All I want, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, doesn't matter to me. All I care about is that you're someone who believes in not having corruption and right and wrong, because I can't seem to find that on either side of the aisle right now. Nobody will call for an investigation of this, and they all know about it because we've let them know about it for over a year. So people are sick and tired of corruption. So that's all you got to do. All you got to do is what a decent person who had good intentions in Congress would do. Do the right thing. It can't be that hard. Our country can't be that far gone, okay? And I even let Warren Davidson know that this goes for him too. Warren, I will be your greatest campaigner. The digital asset investor will be the greatest campaigner in the history of campaigns. Just give me the chance, Warren. All you got to do is the right thing. It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard. Our country cannot be this far gone. And then Warren Davidson had tweeted this out. As I've said since 2017, Congress needs to act. Topics are discussed internally and in the press, but while I have your attention, the majority party schedules hearings, picks topics, decides what bills get a vote. SEC has been disappointingly bad, except Commissioner Pierce. I agree with everything he said there, except for one thing. This whole, the majority party talk, that is what you call in South Georgia a cop-out. Warren Davidson, today you could go out, doesn't matter if you don't have the majority. All you got to do is go out, man up, and say, look, I'm calling for an investigation of the conflicts of interest with Ethereum at the SEC. That's all you got to do. It can't be that hard. Just a little, you're a military guy. I know you've got courage. Can't be that hard. Okay? Do the right thing. And I'm your campaign guy. Do the right thing. That's all you got to do. Because you know that there's a there. All right. He says good financial services hearing topics. See, Warren Davidson is saying all the right things, but at this point, the only words worthy of hearing you say is, I'm calling for an investigation, because then we know that you're not in any way compromised by whoever's behind all this. That's how you know. So yeah, and look, I am not saying that Warren Davidson is, and I don't even like talking about it. I'm not saying Warren Davidson is this big bad guy. That's not what I'm saying at all here, folks. I'm just saying, don't sit on the fence. Now is a time for leaders and courage. Now's a time to get off that fence and do the do. Just do it, like Nike says. Because nobody's been defending Ripple and XRP except for all of us out here. Nobody in Congress. Nobody, I mean, they give the platitudes, but not any real coming out fighting. That's what we need. All right. So, I actually tweeted this out too. Warren David's been active on Twitter, so I'm just seeing what he's writing. He says, this is free market competition. He says, the SEC has disrupted and distorted the market, especially with XRP. I agree. But competition is not what some are seeking. Now, this line right here, I want to know, who is some? These are my questions. The question we need to be asking is, who are some, and what exactly are they seeking? Are they seeking a monopoly for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and disguised whales? Is that what's being sought? Because this is why it's time to get off the fence, Warren. You're the man. Hey, I'll be your greatest fan. All I've ever asked for is for some of these people to do the right thing. That's all I've ever asked for. Rumors that Apple plans to accept crypto are swirling again. We like rumors, but we like shroomers better on this channel. Now, Mike Novogratz, who is our buddy from Galaxy Digital, he says, we are rolling into the future. Now, I'm not going to play this clip because I don't know if he's got music over it, and there may be some copyright hit stuff here. But it was an interesting video. I wanted to show it to you because this metaverse thing is going to happen, folks. And he's talking about how, and I'll bet you he's betting dimes to donuts that it's going to happen also. And I also think this. It says here that billionaire Bitcoin enthusiast leads Galaxy. He wouldn't be surprised by significantly higher crypto prices by the end of the year. Yeah, and I bet he's betting dimes to donuts on that too, by the way. Okay, now Ripple, I found something interesting. This is Gary Gensler, and I don't know what this is from, but it's actually said by Gary Gensler. He says, I mean, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission and Hinman's speech sort of said you could be sufficiently decentralized as Ethereum. They, in essence, had some regulatory forbearance. In other words, someone in the SEC decided we're not going to enforce securities laws on Ethereum. This is the problem, folks, because Jay Clayton filed it and Gary Gensler has carried that baton to this day, and they are not enforcing securities laws. They're not, let me get specific. They didn't enforce securities laws on Ethereum 1.0. They're not enforcing security law on the security that's in process of being issued, Ethereum 2.0, that they changed the name to Consensus Layer because of the bad press. And they're not enforcing securities law on what Gary Gensler said. Remember when he threatened to go after Coinbase Lend? Because he said if you're lending, that clearly falls under securities laws. But right now, he's allowing people to stake on Ethereum 2.0. Billions. Like over 25 billion, I think was the number. That is a security in progress that Gary Gensler's doing nothing about. Hester Pierce is doing nothing about it. Even though she's one of the good guys, she won't comment on it. She's not suggesting they do anything about it. So we don't really know who the good guys and the bad guys are out here at this point, is the way I see it. Then Pomp released his conversation of him with Chris Larson. To be honest, I recorded some of it, but I don't know what kind of copyright issues are involved, and I had a couple of clips I was going to play, but I don't know what kind of copyright stuff's going on there. And to be honest, the interview for me was a little bit boring. I thought they played nice. I was hoping they would fight a little bit, and they really didn't. So not really that interesting. Now, here's an interesting comment from Melton Demers, who she's the same woman that took a shot at Ripple when Barry Silbert said that there was one company behind all the energy FUD about Bitcoin. Well, she's taken another swipe at Chris Larson. She says, I wonder how much fuel Chris's private jet burns every year. And I don't know if Chris has a private jet. I'm assuming he does. Now, we played you this clip. I played you this clip in the last video. And I got curious. This lady right here had, I think in this video, she had made a comment about how her dad worked in the Richard Nixon administration when he took us off the gold standard. I don't know if she said it here or in another video, but she said it. So, and then I saw this come across today after I had shown that video. And it's her again. Her name is Pippa Malmgren. And she says she's writes on economics, geopolitics, tech, award-winning author, former U.S. presidential and Brit cabinet advisor, tech entrepreneur. So this woman is very worldly and is connected and is very smart. So she tweeted this out on January 19th, 2018. Buffett buys Ripple, Tron, Cardano. And it's irrelevant whether he actually does. And this, I think that these aren't actually his words. He's not actually saying this. I think she was tweeting it as a joke. But the point is who she is and what she knows and who her dad was, and the fact that she's mentioning Ripple against the backdrop of this video. And then that got me curious. First, I went to her Wikipedia page, which was this one. This is her. And then I went to her dad's. This is her dad. And he was an international negotiator who's been a senior aide to John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford. He was a senior aide to Richard Nixon when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, folks. If you believe that what's going on in our world right now and the move from our current monetary system to a digital system. If you believe that it does not involve gold and the petrodollar, then you have not been paying attention. Gold, this is what, and I actually tweeted it. Look right here. XRP, XLM, gold. That is what I'm all about. Now, you don't have to listen to me about what's about to happen, because this woman, I went digging for some of her video, and I went and found this from July 20th, 2017. This is 5 minutes, 53 seconds long. I want you to listen to every word of it, folks. Here we go.
It's a game changer if national governments are going to get behind cryptocurrencies. Where does this take us?
Totally. And I think it's a massive market and geopolitical issue. I've written a little article about this, actually, which I put up on LinkedIn. I said, you got to understand, if the size of your debt problem is so big that it can't be paid off, and in fact, even inflation, which is the usual way you would seek to default on your debt slowly over time, you can't get enough inflation generated, then there is one further option, and that is you literally abandon the entire system of money and accounting. And I know that sounds unbelievably radical, but we've seen it happen before. And I explained the example of Britain in 1834, when they abandoned the traditional system they'd used for 1,000 years at that time, which was called the tally stick system. And so when we say we tally things up, or the word stock market refers to the use of little wooden stocks. There were literally pieces of wood on which you would record every transaction during your life, every borrowing, every lending deal, every asset acquisition, every tax payment. And so since that the way it worked was literally a wooden board. You cracked it in half really roughly so the two sides definitely did match and couldn't be faked. And then the borrower and the lender each marked all their transactions. And the stock end was always the smaller end, right? So that's where we get stock market. There was a market in the stocks, these little wooden sticks. Anyway, bottom line was, why would you abandon a system that's worked perfectly beautifully for 1,000 years? And the answer is, you had 200 years of war debts that had accumulated. They were unable to get inflation up enough without causing social unrest. And so the government said, hey, let's actually take the tally sticks back and give people this great new innovation called paper money. Now you can imagine, everybody's like, what? I'm going to hand over this record, this ledger of my entire net worth, and you're going to give me a piece of paper? Really? Like, this is a joke. So in the end, what the government had to do was actually confiscate the tally sticks, and they took them to Parliament to burn them. And they misjudged how much heat the fire would throw off, and that is what caused Parliament to burn to the ground in 1834. Was the destruction of the system of accounting and money. And in its place, we adopted what we now use, which is a piece of paper we call cash. Now today, we're on the brink of a similar step change. And the way you'll do it is you're going to move to electronic money in conjunction with blockchain. Blockchain is the new ledger, and e-money is the new currency. The question is, whose e-money? So everybody in government circles have been watching the Indian experience, because the prime minister stepped up to the platform in early November and basically said, okay, we're going to move all of you, 1 billion people, off paper money and onto electronic money, and we're going to do it in 3 months. Well, they did it, and they did it successfully. And so now governments everywhere are saying, hey, we want to do that, because guess what happens when you move to e-money? First of all, you really eliminate the black market, because you can't transact anymore without it being seen. And so, for example, the European Union are talking heavily about, let's move to electronic money, because then all this black market activity that happens in Greece and Italy, where there's no tax, we'll be able to get all that tax revenue off it. And so that's one reason. The second reason is, with blockchain, you have total transparency over every single step of a transaction, complete provenance of every single transaction. Now, the question is, who gets to see it? And I think this is where governments are suddenly a little schizo, because on the one side, they think they are going to have the ability to see every transaction that you and I and all the listeners are engaged in. But Ethereum has created this platform where actually it won't necessarily be in government's hands. It may be in private hands. And the question is, can you trust the private hands who are issuing ethers as much or more or less than you
mean the disguised whales?
governments. And so governments are beginning to say, well, let's create our own version. And that's where you get the PBOC saying, we got to control this, because otherwise you're going to end up with private sector currencies that possibly are trusted more than government currencies. And that will lead to transactions offline that governments can't see. So there was a report going around the internet recently about some guy made he made $200 million trading on Ethereum in a month. And the question is, well, who will tax that? And the answer is nobody. Well, that freaks governments out, to say the least, particularly given their debt situation. So I think this is a huge, huge thing, and all investors have to think very carefully about it. I'll say one last thing about it. You've got to get familiar with quantum computing.
Oh, is that true?
There's loads of stuff on the net about it, but the reason that it matters is because of the speed at which you can process information. We now have quantum computers. The Chinese apparently have the fastest. There's D-Wave out of British Columbia, but basically you can break a blockchain password or a Bitcoin password in like less than a minute if you...
She didn't say one day you're going to be able to break a Bitcoin password. She said you can break a Bitcoin password. This is July 20th, 2017. I want you to think, before I finish playing this, I want you to think about what's been going on. Think about all these guys. There's an imminent Russia cyber attack. Think about the guy from the World Economic Forum whose name we don't say on this channel. What have they been saying and floating for the last year? Oh, there's going to be a cyber whatever, cyber attack and all this stuff. It will be worse than the worst kind of pandemic or whatever. That's what they've been saying. What if that was all for the purpose of taking Bitcoin out? I'm not saying that's what it is. But if they do have these kind of computers, why would these people, they've made it clear they don't want Bitcoin. They've made it clear. Christine Lagarde, who is it that's been talking about trying to ban Bitcoin? European Parliament. What about, and then all of a sudden you got people, I'm just saying, pay attention, folks, because that's something that the Bitcoiners do not want to talk to you about. What if there is quantum computing? Because I've said it 1,000 times. People criticize me. Oh, yeah, that's 15 years out. They don't have that yet. And I always use the example of when I was in high school and we had the first Iraq War, and I'm watching CNN and I'm watching these Patriot missiles go up and shoot missiles out of the sky. None of us knew that the United States or anybody else had that kind of technology at that time. Because why would they tell us? You don't ever know what we have until the nuclear bomb, when it was created, they had the Manhattan Project and kept it secret until it wasn't a secret. That's my point, is that something like this, something as important as this, if they're saying 15 years, there's a good chance they already have it. Remember who she is. This woman's dad worked for freaking Richard Nixon. This has everything to do with a changeover of the entire financial system. And I've always said, if you think that they're going to use Bitcoin on proof of work when it can be cracked by a quantum computer and apparently nobody knows if somebody already has one, that is asinine. The financial system's not going to be built on that. It's a ridiculous premise, makes no sense, and I think they already have quantum computers.
Have a quantum computer. So the question is, who's going to have them? And the answer is mainly governments, but big corporations are buying them like crazy. Volkswagen just bought one. We're going to see major corporations buying that computing power. And the question then is, okay, who has most transparency over the blockchain and e-money? And I would argue it's going to be whoever has the most and fastest processing power, which may be governments at times, it may be private at times, it may be fluid. And that's what we have to think about as investors.
It's a game changer.
Wow,
if national government...
I thought that was a fascinating clip. Now, I'm going to remind you, XRP, XLM, gold. In this space, these are my core holdings right here. And just recently, Glint became one of my sponsors, and pretty much, I think just about every week, I'm going in and I'm accumulating more gold in my Glint account, and that is what I can use my gold debit card, so that if everything hits the fan when they make this transition, I'm not going to have to worry about my spending power. I'm going to have my Glint card, and it is on like Donkey Kong. I'll be going through the grocery store buying everything I normally buy. I'll be getting my Twizzlers, my Chex Mix, my wintergreen lifesavers, whatever I want. My Chardonnay is my thing. I will be getting whatever I want, and I won't even miss a beat because I'm going to have my Glint card. The link to this is in the top of the description of this video. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that this video was long, but I hope it was